Et par exemple, en Allemagne, d'autre part, ce qui se passe, c'est qu'il y a de moins en moins de personnes qui se consacrent à l'agriculture, de moins en moins d'agriculteurs. Et beaucoup d'entre eux n'ont jamais suivi aucune formation. Les agriculteurs ont besoin de connaissances supplémentaires pour savoir tous les impacts de ce qu'ils font. Un autre élément que je tire de ma propre expérience, parce que j'ai travaillé comme agriculteur pendant 20 ans, c'est que l'agriculteur doit s'organiser bien, être très organisé. Surtout s'il fait partie du CSA, il doit être encore plus organisé, parce qu'il dépend des membres du CSA. Il doit livrer les produits à temps, le jour prévu. Donc, c'est ma réponse.
Merci beaucoup. Vielen Dank. Maybe a question, since Klaus is a mentor, I'd like to
peut-être une question.
To have a follow-up question about mentoring, but this time I'd like to ask Florent. Is Florent online now? I know in Paris area. Florent, can you hear us?
Yes.
Ouais. Okay, so in Paris area, you have quite a nice program about CSA incubators, meaning like farms where wannabe CSA farmers can get installed, they can get started, they can try out, they can go for a tryout on a farm, and they are hosted by, let's say, mentors and basically people that can help them both for the agricultural part, the farming practices, but also to set up their CSA model. Can you say a word about this initiative and how many farmers are going through these incubators? Les couveuses d'activité in French.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So this is a program where trainees stay from 1 to 3 years, and the aim is to not be an employee. The aim is to be a to-be farmer, a farmer which will settle in 1 to 3 years. This means that when they are on somebody else's farm, like our farm, we hosted for 5 years different trainees. They are part of the activity, and they're also completely part of the decision making. So contrary to somebody who's employed on a farm, this person is sharing the decision, and this person is responsible for one CSA. Like for instance, on our farm, we're in partnership with 3 CSAs, the group of consumers, and we added a 4th one for which the person that is training is responsible. So the person is training on technical aspects of being a farmer, but also, as Denis was saying just before, that CSA farmer is a different work than farmer. The person is training also on becoming a CSA farmer, and that means becoming somebody that is able to exchange with a group of consumer, able to accept criticism, able to educate the consumers that are in partnership with him or her. So and this is also a way in which you're being trained for a long period, so you can see 1, 2, or even 3 seasons. So we're doing that. The farms are more robust, and one thing which is really important for new farmer is to test, because many of the new farmers in our country, their parents were not farmers, so they should also learn what is being a farmer in social terms, what is being a farmer for your own family. It will mean changes in your family. It will mean changes in your day-to-day life. And experimenting with this 1 to 3 years period is also a way to experiment how socially are you made for becoming a farmer, not only technically, not only economically, but also socially.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Florent. And then I'd like to come back to my first question, but asking this time Thomas to answer, because Thomas' case is a bit specific. Thomas, you started by, you wanted to set up like a CSA model, and you ended up creating something a bit different, but still very meaningful and very interesting for many farmers. Can you tell us a little bit like what has happened in the western part of Finland?
Yes, I can't tell you how to become a successful CSA farmer in Finland, because it's very, very difficult in our country to start up like this. We have made some trials, and I think we have a couple of well-organized CSA projects in Finland. But since in Finland we have not a population dense enough to maintain this kind of structures, we started. I went to France in 2012, and I saw how a map system worked for the very first time. I thought the model was genius, and I wanted to create something similar in Finland, where I live. But we started in the same way, but from the beginning we also created a Facebook group for the consumers and farmers involved. And it worked out in that way that we started to use Facebook as a platform for connecting consumers and producers. At the beginning, it was only meant to be in our area where I live. We started 2 projects, but by rumor, it became very interesting also for other people. So first of all, I was contacted from people in my own country, and then also from abroad. And this has grown exponentially during the years. So when we started 8.5 years ago where I live, we had this only 2 projects. But now we have in Finland more than 200 so-called REKO rings. They are called in that way REKO rings, with more than 500,000 consumers involved. And it has also spread around the world. So now we have around the world, it exists in at least 15 different countries, with more than 2 million consumers involved, and about 25,000 producers. And it's totally free for everyone participating without middlemen. But we use Facebook as the platform to maintain the interaction between producers and consumers. Normally we have like in the AMAP system, we have delivery every week or every other week, but it's free for the producers to decide when to participate. They don't have to participate every time. So they put their announces what they offer for next delivery, and consumers start to write under the announcement what they want to order. Normally we have perhaps 20 different producers participating at one single delivery, and consumers can order from everyone, and all the producers show up at the same time. So the consumer can get all their produce from one place in a very short time. The delivery takes place in normally half an hour or 1 hour, not more. And we can have a lot of transactions during this year. From my point of view, it was never meant to spread around, but and I have never tried to promote it to let it grow, because I don't gain anything from it. But I've been contacted from people all around the world. So now the latest place where it started was New Zealand, and 1 year ago they also started in Romania, and I know in the Cluj area, and this one has been very, very successful from my point of view. So it's a very, and it's also good in that way that it like function like a catalyst also for other development. It brings producers together so they can also start to develop other projects. And one very big thing is you don't have to create something, some tools or anything to start. You can, it's everything already exists what you need, and it's very, very fast to create and start up. So for example, when it started in Australia 1.5 years ago, it took 10 days from they got the idea until they had their first delivery. It's very time efficient, no waste, because everything is pre-order. You can consider it as a pre-order farmers market.
So before we continue the session, I just want to tell the interpreters for Portuguese and Spanish that, as far as I understood, nobody is listening to Spanish or Portuguese. We definitely need French, but I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that you came and there was no need for it, so apologies. But I think here we can definitely free you from this duty, so you are free to stay, of course, for the session if you want, but you can otherwise leave. And please, for French, we definitely still need interpretation. Thank you very much. So thank you, Thomas. I think this example is really interesting because, sorry, just a second. An interpreter into French is listening to Spanish. So we might need Spanish. I don't know if you can, between interpreters, if you can coordinate yourself. I'm going to listen to the French booth just to hear interpreters. Cathy, vous avez besoin du coup de l'interprétation vers l'espagnol?
Oui, maintenant je fais l'interprétation en français. S'il parle français, je vais traduire en anglais. Ce n'est pas de problème.
Okay. So I think it's going to be all fine. So Thomas, your example is really interesting because we see that we can start with the idea of one model and we end up creating another one, a different one, which can be interesting as well. You mentioned Cluj. Cluj is in Romania. I think it's a good transition to ask a question from Brindusha. And maybe my question will be, since we are in a farmer-to-farmer workshop, my question is like, in your view, Brindusha, you are like practicing ASAT, which is really like very close to the core, let's say, AMAP or CSA model in France and in the US. What do you think in terms of a farmer, from the farmer's perspective? Do you see a difference between being part of an ASAT and being in such a model as the model described by Thomas, which is kind of social media based direct selling model? And maybe just a larger question within the ASAT movement, what is the role, the position of farmers generally? And do you manage to have farmers who are committed to the model, or is that a challenge for you? Many questions in one. Sorry about that.
No problem. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm speaking from one device and following.
Je n'ai qu'un seul device.
So my perspective is very limited to this 1 year, this 2021, that I have been a producer and managed to do 30 deliveries to my consumers. It's quite a challenging sport, so to speak, because like Klaus said, you need very good skills, and yeah, if unexpected events come, then you need to manage those as well. And so from this perspective, the REKO model, or yeah, more flexible, let's say, relationships with consumers are, I would say, they're easier on the farmer, because you don't have the pressure to weekly bring your shares, bring the harvest to the consumers. You don't have the pressure. The consumers are relying on your food. I imagine you don't. I mean, the way Thomas explained it. And what I see happening in the Romanian one, just by social media, what I see their pictures is more finished goods, like processed products that ourselves, we are at the first level of production. We have just the raw veggies, the raw materials. Yeah, we're not able to provide that, so it's an extra, it's a bit of a different market. It addresses other people, so I think they can be complementary. And with ASAT in Romania, unfortunately, the evolution is a bit with less farmers lately. I think because of the difficulty of consumers to commit as well. We seem to have a difficulty in making the baskets more affordable. So somehow, with my colleagues, somehow the price of a share is growing year by year. And I myself am trying to militate to make it, yeah, to bring in food justice and to make it more affordable. We try to implement a sliding scale this year. I think in 2 of the partnerships and 2 of the CSAs, it was done. Yeah, to reach all types of consumers. But I think this is a limitation that makes a vicious circle, because yeah, the price of the share being quite high, it's difficult to get consumers. Plus consumers in the classical AMAP solidarity system are, yeah, the effort is a bit bigger there. They have to come every week. They have to accept the harvest and use it. And I have a hard time also convincing my fellow young farmers to even to try CSA, because they know, oh, diversity of produce, I don't know how I will make it, so I prefer to just grow 3 things and sell it to restaurants. So yeah, in a nutshell.
Thank you, Brindusha. Very good. Une question pour Simon, si Simon est toujours avec nous. Simon, tu nous entends? Simon, est-ce que tu peux ouvrir ton micro? Okay, I don't see Simon. Well, I see Simon, but it doesn't have the microphone open. So actually, I will go to, well, I'll ask the same question from somebody else. Maybe this time from... Simon is here. Simon, tu es là? Tu peux activer ton micro, j'ai une question pour toi. Peut-être que tu peux écouter. Voilà, ma question, c'est donc, Brindusha présentait la difficulté d'arriver à convaincre les autres paysans de se lancer dans un modèle du style AMAP. Est-ce qu'au Togo, chez toi, c'est aussi une difficulté? Est-ce que c'est facile d'aller convaincre les paysans de se lancer en AMAP, ou est-ce qu'ils ont beaucoup de craintes, comme Brindusha l'expliquait dans le cas de la Roumanie?
Oui, tout à fait. Au Togo, AMAP, ce n'est pas une tradition.
Not a tradition. In Africa in general, we are a local market. We bring to the market, and every family goes to the market to buy. We have the markets on Saturdays, and the second one, everybody can come to the market to make their purchase. Today, it is good for Africa because everybody can do agroecology. So there are the peasants who are trained specially. There is training for l'agriculture ecological agriculture. The production, bioproduction, there is a lot of energy, and these products in the local markets, they have to have a price comparable. We are at the beginning. It has started. Myself, I said I shouldn't sell too cheap because I have harvested. The others people said no. I cannot sell. That's where I started to enter, to go door to door, to offer my services, the bioproducts. So today, there is a lot of initiative. The young people, the producers should develop more to live better as compared to the traditional products. It is a matter of guarantee. During the week, there are consumers who are going to ask you if there are consumers who wait to create jobs. There is a lot of work to do. Today, there are the transformations in the cities. Everything is changing, and
n'importe quoi pour tomber malade. Aujourd'hui, il y a beaucoup de cancers qui se développent de jour en jour au Togo. Mais avant, il n'y en a pas. Ça provient de quoi? Ça provient de produits chimiques qu'on consomme. Donc, tout le monde cherche où à trouver ces produits bio, écologie pour consommer. Donc, il y a beaucoup d'initiatives qui sont en train de développer dans ce système. Donc, je vois que c'est différent par rapport à celle que mon collègue vient de dire en Roumanie. Voilà.
Thank you, Simon. Merci beaucoup, Simon. I think also another question I'd like to ask, maybe to all of you, and we'll see who wants to take it. It's really about the role and the position of farmers in our CSA movement. I know it's difficult. Quite often we see that in the movement, like it's sometimes more consumers led. It can be different from country to country. It can be more farmer led in some countries. It can be more consumers led in others. But at least what I can hear very often is the difficulty for farmers to farm. I mean, to be on the farm, to sell to their CSA, and at the same time also to be involved in the CSA networks, which is also a very important dimension. So I'd like to ask, like, is there an issue with getting CSA farmers well represented in your networks, or is that something that is being done naturally? Maybe, Denis, can I direct this question to you first?
Répétez, s'il te plaît.
La question, c'est est-ce que les paysans dans le mouvement des AMAP et des CSA sont suffisamment représentés ou ont une position suffisamment forte, ou est-ce qu'il y a un problème pour eux de s'engager au-delà de l'activité dans leur AMAP ou sur leur ferme?
Oui, c'est une question qu'on avait. Oui, oui. Je peux pas. Attends, il y a Simon qui a dû laisser son micro ouvert, alors ça va être bon, on va essayer. C'est une question que je me pose.
We look at the evolution in France. Obviously, I cannot have the point of view of all the international networks, but this year there was the creation of the first, for reasons. Today I am retired, and I have been a cheese producer at the moment when the first one has been created, the first AMAT. At the beginning, it was an organization about there were organizations of peasants and of citizens. This was created in the first networks, and then to know that the movement was a movement of hate in the networks. Why? Within an AMAT, the peasants could make their own delivery. There is his capital, his savings. The consumer buys what they need for the nourishment. Partnership is what defines the AMAT. On the one hand, the person who wants to sell the production, and the other one, on the other hand, those who need that produce, and they need high quality of the produce. So it's an asymmetrical relationship. On the other hand, is from peasants and consumers. Within an AMA, the peasant peasant or several of them address a group of consumers, and here the peasants cannot intervene directly. Then there is a conflict of interests. We cannot intervene in an association like that. The representation of the peasant can only be made through the networks. We have created this together. There were several networks of different qualities. There were the peasants, but which were different, and the consumers were the same. At this moment, there is a problem within the networks. AMAT, it is the association that works, and within them, the question is to be vigilant to the questions, to the issues that appear.
Du développement de réseaux d'AMAP, de la politique alimentaire, à mon avis, ça risque aujourd'hui, c'est devenu largement des associations de consommateurs et qui risquent de dériver vers des revendications des consommateurs. Autrement dit, en général, les consommateurs, on est tous consommateurs. Hein. Je fais une critique qui est générale, mais...
This is a general critique to have the best possible. Sometimes it is not compatible.
Donc, la question, elle émerge à peine. Au bout de 20 ans, on a un mouvement en France qui est largement un mouvement de consommateurs. Et je pose la question là, parce qu'on est... par exemple, ça, aujourd'hui, on ne l'a pas en France. Ce qu'on fait là, à l'instant, c'est-à-dire d'avoir un atelier farm to farm. Nous n'avons pas ça en France. Il n'y a pas de lieu dans lequel les paysans peuvent se retrouver. Et c'était mal pris par des administrateurs, des consommateurs qui avaient peur que les paysans fassent sécession en réfléchissant ensemble à travers un atelier comme on a aujourd'hui. Et ça, c'est un enjeu. Je parle que pour ce que moi je ressens en France. En plus, c'est mon ressenti personnel. C'est pas une position qui a été discutée, validée dans les instances. Et je sais pas si vous ressentez ça dans les autres réseaux nationaux, la place des paysans dans les réseaux et comment on peut mieux intervenir pour faire reconnaître notre travail de paysan en AMAP ou en CSA.
Merci, Denis. Thank you, Denis. So it's very clear you have a critique or a kind of warning for this aspect of the CSA movement becoming, to some extent, a consumer-led movement or movement of consumers. And you think there needs to be a space where farmers can be strengthened and consolidate their position in the movement. I'd like to ask Klaus, because the German CSA movement is now growing quite strong. And with this growth, do you feel the farmers still have their own space to discuss their issues?
Yes, I think so. We have now 3 types of CSA. We call it type 1, 2, and 3. And the type 1 is a CSA who is led by a farmer and run by a farmer. And in this type 1, the farmers have the full leadership of the CSA. And then we have the type 2. It's the oldest one. It's a farmer.
Un système où les fermiers
And they together run the CSA. And in this type 2 CSA, more the consumers led the CSA. That's right. And the next one is type 3. That's only association run the CSA. And there's also that the consumers more led it. So we have 360 farms now in Germany. And I have never counted if there are more type 1, 2, or 3. It's an interesting questions, and I don't know it, but I can say that all 3 types can run. And I think that in all types, the farmer is one of the important persons in the CSA. So much consumers say, okay, we can say what we want, but we can't say how you should do it. You are the man or you are the woman to know to make really the production, and therefore are the farmers still the really important people in the CSA. And I think yes, they have enough space to talk.
Thank you, Klaus. And now maybe a question to Florent, because Florent, I think you personally have the experience of multi-farm CSA, so cooperating with other farmers, even maybe on your own farm, if I remember well, or was it like a farm nearby in the same area? Can you tell us a word about like how farmers can come together to produce for the same CSA group, and maybe also this follow-up question on farms with multiple farmers?
I think we should really make a difference. Going back to the initial question and Denis' comment, we should really make a difference between farmers' power within the networks and farmers' powers in the relationship.
Pardon.
You can't hear me?
I can hear you perfectly, but just a question, can you turn on your video or not? because I could pin you. That would be easier, I think. And you're live from the farm, so that's really good.
Seeding carrots. What I was saying is, I think we should really make a difference between the farmers' power within the networks and their power in the relationship with their CSAs. In our example, we have, so our farm is in partnership with 3 CSA, 3 groups of consumers, and we feel that we can definitely talk with them, and as Klaus was just saying, they often say, yes, you know, because you are in the field, and for instance, here we just decided with them to increase our revenue, and they felt it was absolutely normal because they wanted us to be paid properly. So there was no problem in negotiating with the groups surrounding us, and the same if you want me to talk about the cooperation with other farmers. We are providing vegetables and herbal tea to these CSAs, but other colleagues are providing cereals, are providing meat, are providing cheese, and so we cooperate, and they also feel that they have a good power relationship with the CSAs. But the initial question, and I think Denis' comment, is on the farmers within the networks, and I feel also sometimes that it's a challenge to make sure that farmers are well represented within the networks, especially because they have less time to engage. And we see it this week, for instance. It's fascinating all the work you're doing in the symposium, but we farmers don't have time to attend everything. And if you attend everything, then you are in a better position to then intervene or suggest changes. And so I think that we should pay special attention to how do we make sure farmers are listened to within the networks, and how do we define procedures to make sure that they're even more listened to than others. And for instance, it's farmers in France, and I'm sure elsewhere, they need to be on the phone. So if you just send them an email to consult, you won't get an answer. So you need to take the telephone and spend 15 minutes with them if you really want their point of view. And that's time, and time is money. So I think there's an issue there on, if we really want farmers to feel that they have a role in these networks, then maybe we should decide to allocate some resources to reaching them.
Thank you so much. That's a proposal for the networks, even maybe including URGENCI, I don't know. But excellent. And maybe a follow-up question regarding the position of farmers. So the landscape is very different from one country to another. In some countries, the organic farmers movement is stronger. In some others, it might be the food sovereignty or like peasant agriculture movement, as we say in French and Spanish. I'd like to ask Simon about the situation in Togo, especially trying to see if there are like connections, or if, let's say, I know, Simon, you are from the organic movement. You've been part of the IFOAM for a while. I was just willing to know if there is a strong connection between the organic farmers movement in Togo, where farmers might be well represented, and the AMAP movement. Do you see the connections? And maybe in view of the answer you will give us, tell us also if there are any links with the conventional farmers movement in your country. Simon? On t'entend pas, il faut que tu actives ton micro.
Active le micro, c'est bon?
Parfait.
C'est bon?
Oui.
Ah, voilà. Tout à l'heure, j'ai dit, aujourd'hui, on a beaucoup d'initiatives parce que les jeunes Togolais ou bien les jeunes Africains, on a vu que c'est un métier, c'est un entrepreneuriat que les jeunes sont en train de se créer. Mais beaucoup de jeunes ne connaissent pas le système de la production parce que leurs parents n'ont pas de paysans. Mais aujourd'hui, ils ont été à l'école, université, ils ont fait l'agronomie, mais ils ont rentré, mais ils ne connaissent pas la technique vraie de la production écologique et biologique. Donc, ça fait 1 an, 2 ans que IFOAM a mis un projet et le projet s'appelle OM4D, Organic Market for Development. Togo est le 3e pays en Afrique qui exporte les productions vers l'Europe et en Amérique. Donc, ça a motivé les jeunes de rentrer dans l'agriculture pour pouvoir exporter leurs productions. Il y a très peu de gens qui veulent servir au Togo pour les consommateurs. Donc, 1 an, 2 ans, il y a un réseau national qui s'appelle Anabio, qui est né. Donc, il veut regrouper toutes ces initiatives vers un cahier de charges, oui, pour travailler ensemble, un collectif pour aller dans un sens. Donc, ce mouvement est créé alors que AMAP Togo était créé depuis. Donc, nous, on a notre cahier de charges avec nous, producteurs. Donc, farmer to farmer, paysan, comment on travaille. J'ai dit déjà, il y a les jeunes qui ne connaissent rien sur l'agriculture. Donc, on fait des réunions. Chaque premier mois du samedi, on regroupe au centre de CEFAP pour faire des échanges. Parce que c'est une coopérative. Comment à travailler ensemble. La décision, on doit travailler en transparent, on doit prendre une décision. Parce que on produit des céréales, les tubercules, les légumes et des fruits. Et personne, c'est pas comme la France dans laquelle un seul paysan peut faire AMAP. Ici, il y a beaucoup de demandes de différents produits agricoles. Donc, ensemble, on peut partager qui va produire quoi. Donc, on fait le partage et des intrants également, les semences. Les difficultés pour l'Africain, nous, climat ici, ça, il faut que chacun prenne note des problèmes ou bien les challenges pour l'Afrique. Le climat n'est pas favorable pour la production de certaines semences. Je peux citer par exemple carottes, choux, brocoli, chou-fleur. Donc, on n'arrive pas à produire. Donc, même certains produits qui réussissent certaines zones, ça ne réussit pas de l'autre côté. Donc, on fait des échanges, on fait des réunions, on fait des visites. Vous pouvez projeter les PowerPoint, please.
Alors, the slideshow.
Farmer to farmer, paysan à Map Togo.
Alors, attends juste une seconde. Tu peux continuer à parler pendant que je le charge.
Donc, aujourd'hui, oui, Afrique a des opportunités parce qu'il y a les Européens qui viennent pour s'installer, les Chinois qui viennent pour s'installer, mais les premières matières de leur alimentation, c'est des légumes et fruits. C'est différent par rapport à la consommation au Togo. Les Togolais qu'ils ont fréquenté Europe, Amérique, etc., c'est eux qui sont des secondos consommateurs de la MAP aujourd'hui au Togo. Donc, paysan nous permet de rentrer dans le système d'agroécologie, agro-bio, pour faire des échanges, des semences, d'où on peut produire tel type de semences, d'où quelle zone on peut produire tel produit. Donc, ça fait que échange ou bien la formation entre les paysans est très, très, très positif pour les producteurs des AMAP ou bien les paysans des AMAP. Et on sollicite, en groupe, on sollicite des formateurs pour venir, pour nous former dans le cadre des comptes d'exploitation avant de fixer les prix pour les consommateurs. Et également, on a associé les consommateurs qui viennent pour assister à nos réunions. Et également, ils sont membres de la MAP. Chaque année, chacun donne son cotisation. Au Togo, c'est notre système. Être membre de la MAP, il y a les consommateurs et les producteurs. Donc, ils donnent les frais annuels pour aider les paysans. Parce qu'on a des intrants vraiment comme les semences que je viens de parler. Il faut qu'on aille sur le site, quel problème tu as, quelle maladie des plantes que tu as. Donc, on fait des échanges. Ensuite, vous pouvez rouler les PowerPoint. Oui, et il y a des jeunes universitaires qui viennent pour la formation. Et puis, des fois, on sort ce groupe de jeunes, on va de l'autre site, de l'autre paysan pour voir comment il produit. Parce qu'au CFAP, on a un peu de chance d'avoir des matériels un peu modernes, je peux dire. Mais d'autres n'ont pas de matériel, des outils. Donc, ils ont que les machettes et le houx. Et ils n'ont pas de caisses pour faire des semis, ils n'ont pas de presse-morte, etc. Donc, on sort des jeunes, ces jeunes, quand ils quittent ce FAP, il faut qu'ils vont faire quoi? Ils n'ont pas de matériel. Donc, il faut qu'on fasse la visite par un paysan qui n'ont pas de matériel ou bien des équipements pour apprendre, pour faire des échanges, pour apprendre que, dès qu'ils finissent au CFAP, ils n'ont pas de presse-morte pour faire les mortes. Donc, il faut qu'on fasse des échanges entre les paysans dans tous les sens. Et également, un paysan qui est installé, qui n'a jamais réfléchi comment je vais vendre mes produits. Donc après, il appelle à MAP. Donc en même temps, il va intégrer dans la MAP pour que son produit peut vendre, à MAP peut vendre son produit. Voilà, c'est comme ça, paysan est très nécessaire. Donc au Togo, c'est maintenant qu'on a démarré, mais c'est une très forte AMAP qui Afrique d'ici, dans 5 ans, on va être vraiment fort en Afrique de l'Ouest. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Simon, pour ton optimisme. Excellent. J'aimerais retourner vers Thomas et vers la Finlande pour peut-être une question. Là, je vais ouvrir un autre sujet. Puisqu'on arrive dans la dernière demi-heure de notre panel. Et j'aimerais bien demander à l'ensemble de nos panélistes, et en particulier à Thomas, comment faire en sorte que les paysans soient mieux représentés dans notre mouvement au niveau international. Là, je parle au niveau d'URGENCI. Et en particulier, dans ton cas, Simon, tu représentes un type un peu différent de modèle. Tu ne fais pas du CSA, tu fais quelque chose d'autre. Et je pense que c'est important de dire ici, encore une fois, que URGENCI, c'est le réseau international des partenariats locaux et solidaires pour l'agroécologie. Donc, c'est plus large que uniquement les AMAP en France, les CSA dans les pays anglo-saxons. Évidemment, l'essentiel de nos activités porte sur ces modèles-là, mais c'est bien de s'ouvrir à d'autres modèles, je pense. Thomas, comment tu vois la possibilité pour URGENCI de faire une place plus importante aux producteurs comme toi, qui ont un modèle qui n'est pas pour 100% AMAP?
Je ne sais pas si j'ai bien compris ton question, mais en anglais, s'il vous plaît.
Tu as l'interprétation en anglais, hein, si tu veux.
No, but you would like to know how we could give more space to the farmers in URGENCI.
C'est ça. Et en particulier les paysans comme toi, qui ne font pas de la MAP, mais qui font quelque chose de différent.
As I said, in Finland, we have, for the moment, about 4,000 farmers selling through my system. And that means about 10% of the total number of farmers. And it's mostly the small scale farmers that are selling through this. And this system has created a very good social network between the farmers when they come together for every delivery. Before they didn't have any fellow farmers to discuss with, but now they have gained this network that they also have developed other things. They are starting to to make more some processed food together. They are also starting other projects. Like some of them have built a slaughterhouse together. Other has using transportation together, and it has like made a lot of enabled a lot of cooperation between the farmers. So within my type of direct selling, I should say that the farmer's position is very, very strong. Without, yes, it's by naturally this way. I don't we haven't done anything particular to reach this situation, but the situation had given the farmers a very strong strong position, as long as you act honestly, because selling through this is very, very like hard capitalism. If you are not fulfilling what you promised, then you are out of business, because you have to face the consumer every delivery face to face, and so you have to fulfill what you have promised to the consumers. But at the same time, it's very, very flexible. You decide when to participate, and you know how you can sell as much as you want or as little as you want for one delivery. And we have a lot of, nowadays we have a lot of farmers that have started because the system exists. It gives a very good flexibility to, but how to normally the admins for these groups are, I should say, 50% are consumers and 50% are farmers. Some of them are only farmers driven, some of them are only consumers driven, but it's not a big difference anyway. The farmers have the same position, but how to engage farmers to take more responsibility outside their own activity, that could be a challenge. I don't know. I never really thought about this.
Okay, no problem. As you are thinking about it, perhaps now, I'd like to see if we have more farmers actually than the panel in the room. I see some people joined us, so I'd like to know if Carini Scarpari or Luisa Paez or Rocio Romero, if you would like to join us on the panel. If you are a farmer, you're in the right room, and you can probably come and join us and answer some of the questions. Please unmute yourself and speak if you want to take the floor. Rocio, Luisa, Carini. You are not obliged, of course. Okay, if you don't want now, we'll see later. But maybe I can redirect my question to some other panelists. Brindusha, perhaps you have something to say about the aspect of strengthening the position of farmers within our movement. Perhaps some ideas also coming from other sessions during the symposium, what urgency could do actually to what like key priority action we could take to support farmers within our movement. Brindusha, you want to go on this one?
I will try, but
thank you.
I think this issue of mentorship is really important. How to enable that while is not draining resources from mentor or new farmer, but yeah, nourishing both and creating a new CSA farm, hopefully, which will last in time. Yeah, this is the something that I wish we could experiment with more. perhaps incubator model or mentorship in general, I think is really important, and finding ways to attract new producers, I think. And maybe those can also be.
So do you mean that
the difference?
Do you mean in the case of urgency as an international network, like what can we do in terms of mentorship? Is it like mentoring between farmers from different countries?
For example, we can learn how it's done in Germany or in France, and try to find the resources to do it in Romania. But of course, there is an issue of first getting people motivated to come and be with a mentor for a few seasons. And I think that would solve a great problem if that happens. I mean, I really hope in a few years that I can have people at my place and working together, because there is many limitations to being one farmer-led operation. Like I said, when unexpected things happen, then it's you're in a dead end. So I think, yeah, learning from how other countries can do through the network, through urgency, and showing farmers the difference between what they do right now, which is like home deliveries. Like I have quite a few peers that do that and prefer to do that than the CSA. And I didn't crack that nut yet. I don't know how that can be well presented. So perhaps other colleagues in the network have some success stories with that, how to attract back from the box schemes, not back, but let's say further to CSA models, and to show them it's a good step in the right direction for the economy that we want and the society we want.
Yeah, actually, this is something we've been hearing from in different sessions, like the issue of fighting against the competition of box schemes and so on. Actually, it has been researched in the case of California by an American researcher who really studied the CSA farm there, and he realized that the landscape changed. Like 20 years ago, CSA was one of the only options to get organic, fresh, local products. And nowadays, there are many more possibilities to actually for consumers to go and get fresh, local, organic products. And this has been like a huge change for CSA farms, which are facing this competition. But maybe before we move into that discussion as a final part, I just wanted to ask Klaus, because Brindusha spoke about this aspect of mentoring, and you have a direct experience of mentoring in a different country, because you were hooked by a Czech farmer who wanted to know how to deal with the CSA dimension of his farm. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about how does it feel to be an international mentor for CSA?
It feels great. Yes, I make mentoring since 7 years now in Germany, and I also comes to Austria. And then I come to Czech Republic. It was last year, and it's for me it's great to come in another country and see the rural heritage of agriculture there, and see how young people starts to have the own ideas, and like France is different to Germany. I think that other lands also make different answers of what is actually CSA, and it depends also on the traditional where the people are come from, and it's really interested. And I will also say we have in urgency was one of the leader in the so-called solid base project, and we have it was an international team. It runs over 3 years, and in this project solid base we create workshops And I think these 4 workshops that we have created there can run much more as they actually do now. And I think if you ask me what urgency can do, it's one of the things that urgency can do to make more solid-based workshops. And the big question is also who should pay it. And yes, I think it's good to look on the financial situation, how we can, where we can get money to run more workshops like solid base or more workshops like these here today. It's yeah. And this brings me to, if I can say that, you asked in this really good questions, what are my 3 top priority actions urgency can actually do? And I think urgency as an international network should work on an international level. And for me, it's the United Nations and the FAO, and also the European government, or for me also the African government, if there's something else, or the government of the United States or whatever. So really the big players, and don't also make it more familiar there what power CSA actually have for the transformation of agriculture in the next 20 years, for the climate change, for all these things, for the big questions of the mankind. Okay, that's all.
Thank you so much, Klaus. Excellent.
Joslan,
Yes.
Joslan, I see that Elizabeth Henderson also has joined this group, because perhaps you should give her also some space to.
Definitely. Well, I asked before if Elizabeth wanted to join us on the panel, but she couldn't at this point. So Elizabeth, you're welcome. If you want to join, I will take you on board. I just want to say something I was about to forget. Tammy Jonas from Australia wanted to take part to this workshop, but you know, right now it's like 3 a.m. For her, so it's the middle of the night, and she couldn't join us, but she sent her answers to the questions I sent all of you. I'm going to put them in the chat. I think that can be interesting for all of us. Maybe going back to the question that was raised by Brindusha just a second ago about the competition with box schemes. Brindusha concretely asked, do you have good experience of fighting or like, how do you say, striking back against the competition of box schemes? So I'm going to direct this question to all the panelists, and maybe one specific aspect. Well, I will put it like this. I think it's more simple. But yes, sorry. What I wanted to ask is actually if we look at us as an international movement, once again, as urgency and so on, what can we do to actually help farmers, support farmers in CSA farmers in fighting back these competing models? And I see Florent is raising the hand. Florent, if you can turn the video on, I can pin you on the panel. Thank you.
Yes, I think we should be much clearer on what is our type of agriculture and on the social links that we create. Definitely, box schemes and so on. What we face competition in France as well, and what we see is that it's way less secure. It brings less security, financial security to farmers. But if we really want to be proactive in terms of how do we sell it, I think we should insist on we reinvent agriculture, because we bring citizens in, and we as farmers need to share the decision making on what do we do in our fields. We are citizens, and we also have consequences of other farming elsewhere. We have we farmers, when we farm, we have consequences. There are consequences of our farming on air, on water, on biodiversity, on everything. So what we feel as CSA farmers is that since our farming has impacts on on various aspects of the life of people that are neighboring us, then we feel that we should integrate them in our system. And I think we should promote that very strongly. That's food democracy. It means future agriculture is bringing citizens in, and we have no worries because we trust citizens. When we are transparent with them, we trust them, and they will never disappoint us. If we're transparent, they will be with us. But I think we should really strengthen the fact that the difference between our systems and the veg box is that we're with CSAs. We're not selling you a basket, or we're not selling you vegetables or meat. We're proposing you an experience. You will be part of an experience where you are part of a farm. And I think we should sell it that way. And I think in urgency terms, that means, of course, we are for on all the debates on food policy, but we're also very much on the democracy issues. So I think we should insist on democracy, because we're changing the way in which local democracy works. And I'm sorry, I need to leave you. It was very interesting, all these meetings.
Well, we are almost closing anyway, just 5 minutes to go. Thank you so much, Florent, for joining us live from the farm. Excellent. Thank you. I don't know if somebody else wants to come in on the topic before we close the topic. Simon wants to say something. Simon, il faut que tu réactives ton micro.
Oui, it's okay. C'est bon?
C'est parfait.
Ok, merci. Vraiment, j'ai vu CSA à MAP comme un réseau, ou bien comme un métier qui est très, très fort, n'est-ce pas, pour créer des emplois aux jeunes, et ensuite que le consommateur, pour les deux partenaires, peuvent vraiment faire cet réseau très, très fort dans le monde. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, on parle des systèmes d'alimentation, mais c'est URGENCI en tant que réseau international qui peut beaucoup travailler pour pouvoir que cet réseau international, ou bien les initiatives locales dans chaque pays, comme en MAP et des CSA, peuvent vraiment, vraiment être une forte organisation entre les producteurs et les consommateurs. C'est très important. Donc, c'est à nous de travailler très fort. Parce que tout ce que je vois en Afrique aujourd'hui, tout le monde veut rentrer dans ce système. Production qualité vers le consommateur. Aujourd'hui, il y a plein de maladies qui viennent dans notre alimentation. Donc, vraiment, il faut qu'ensemble, on construise notre réseau international comme URGENCI à travers des AMAP dans chaque pays, localité. Comme j'aime pas parler beaucoup des PLS. Vraiment, c'est la base entre les producteurs et les consommateurs. Vraiment, on peut commencer à construire, à avoir une voie, n'est-ce pas? Si je dis voie, une cahier de charges dans chaque pays, vraiment, ça doit être vraiment solide dans chaque pays. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Simon. Est-ce que quelqu'un d'autre veut s'exprimer sur le sujet? Then maybe I can ask Elizabeth. I think Elizabeth wanted to take the floor. I'm going to highlight you and bring you into the panel.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for sharing such interesting experiences. I would just like to conclude by saying that I think CSA and food sovereignty are particularly important in this moment in the world when we're suffering from three very intense crises: the crisis of climate change, the pandemic, and the crisis of colonization and white supremacist racial domination. It's a time of just tremendous ferment, and I think things are going to get worse before they get better. There is enough money being spent by the military, by my government, to fund everything that we want to do, in terms of worldwide education, feeding people, ending hunger, etc., and so forth. But people are afraid to push through this, and which way it's going to go is really hard to know at this moment in the United States. There's certainly the possibility of another civil war here. And we are the belly of the beast, and it is a beast with a heavy hand. So the example of CSAs, of communities where people can work together gently on the land, is the future. People who are caught up in the market economy and capitalism and stuff and investments and all that
peut investir. C'est une provocation pour que cela se passe. Nous leur offrons
un camino. Por lo tanto,
you're doing it in Germany, making everybody a member of the farm, some active farmers, some inactive, and people pay what they can and take what they need. The oldest, one of the oldest CSAs in the United States, Temple Wilton, does it that way, and they're still doing it. We have to bring these radical solutions forward so that people know about them and appreciate them, and just keep going. I think we will come out okay, but it's not going to be easy. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. I think those are perfect concluding words. I think we can really finish with this very strong speech. I really want to thank you once again, all of you. I will send you the link because this was recorded and it will be up on our YouTube channel. We didn't have that many people in the audience, but I think a lot of people will be interested in the recording and hearing your experience. So thanks a lot, everyone. Thank you to the interpreters as well. Merci beaucoup aux interprètes. Thank you, Simon, for solving the issue of connecting from so far away. And really, we had a very nice workshop. And once again, I'm sorry Tammy couldn't join us, but I shared in the chat her detailed answers to the questions I raised. Thanks a lot. And see you tomorrow for some of you, probably. I'll stop the recording here.